What gave me the inspiration to write this paper that I'm going to read out to you was in the book called Astronomy, written by Fred Hoyle. One of the introductory passages, I think it was the preface or the introduction, I don't remember which one, but the last paragraph of that preface was him stating that sure, we have technology and we have certain ways of discovering things and new insight, but the idea of claiming that the enthusiastic nature of everything, oh, we're just going to figure everything out tomorrow and all this other stuff with this new method is flawed, because there's always new methods, there's always different ways of doing things, there's always new insights to be had. It's a step-by-step process that happens over time. So Fred Hoyle was saying, oh, well, don't be so enthusiastic, because sure, you might have found a new method of solving for something, but it isn't an all-encompassing thing. That's one method out of many hundreds of things that have been done over time. And one of those methods was spectroscopy, taking light from a source, putting it into a prism. Now, first putting it through a slit, then putting it through a prism, and then seeing the emission or absorption spectrum of that light. Sure, it's a great method and we can discover a lot using it, but it's flawed. It doesn't exactly go over stars that do not have spectrums. And this is the paper I've written. I'm going to post on Vixar, but I'll read it out to my audience just so I can practice talking. But here we go. The title of the paper is Stellar Metamorphosis, Luminosity and Spectroscopy Issues. The abstract is stated, astronomy and astrophysics in the 21st century relies too much on luminosity and spectroscopy to try and explain distant stars' compositions. The question can be raised, quote, did 20th century astronomers and astrophysicists know what happened to stars as they cooled and lost their spectrums, end quote. A surprising conclusion will be provided with explanation. And here I go. The question was raised, did 20th century astronomers and astrophysicists know what happened to stars as they cooled and lost their spectrums, end quote, or do all stars have spectrums and shine brightly in visible light? Some stars shine very dimly, such as small red dwarfs, but those have visible spectrums. This paper is not concerned with them, but with the possibility that stars have always been assumed to have spectrums and shine even with dim light. Modern academic communities have ignored the possibility that 20th century scientists did not have all the information and continue to form models of stellar evolution and structure based off past assumptions. Their methods and assumptions leave gigantic discrepancies with the development of star science. It can be argued that the main evolutionary models for stars were designed to include only the stars which had spectrums and were brilliantly shining. These were the undisputable facts of nature before any model of star evolution was drawn up. If this were the case, then regardless if stars could be not found shining anymore, they simply would not be classified as stars at all. If there were stars that did not shine, it had no consequence to the academic community. All stars were assumed to shine. This means that any and all definitions and theories drawn up with this assumption probably missed the bigger picture. Theory development was carried out absent important information. The possibility therefore exists that we have been classifying ancient stars which do not shine as something else, as objects which are not related to stars at all. Furthermore, to accurately assess stellar evolution in light of these hidden assumptions, it is set up as a challenge to future astronomers and astrophysicists to look at the history concerning the development of star science. A good question to ask ourselves, quote, did our assumptions improve alongside technology? End quote. The answer is no. Only the stars which could be seen with primitive instruments were the ones that were studied, even the stars which appeared to wander, the planets. As technology improved, the wandering stars were noticed to not shine by their own light as did the sun, so their richness in structure and clues to their history were then brushed away. This is overviewed in the history of books of late, uninteresting balls of inert gas and rock, which have no real past worth mentioning, or a future. How boring. Any astronomer or astrophysicist who chooses to challenge such assessment should wonder for further proof of this analysis. Why are there no evolutionary models for the objects which do not shine anymore? Why did we not look at the history of astronomy in the light of our current understanding? What this all means is that we have given too much weight to the methods of spectroscopy and focus too greatly on how bright the stars are, because more than likely most stars do not shine at all. There's that statement. I wanted to outline that because the methods and ideas that were pushed were accepted before there was any proof of them being valid. Today is July 4th, 2015.